It will continue to hold out this hand without taking lives. His vision shook. Ridiculous. If the city's release was true, if this wasn't an illusion someone was showing him. What was his reason for walking? His reason for traveling through the lower tiers? His reason for pretending to be a doctor? He walked amidst the infinite jubilance. Only he walked. However, no matter where Guy walked, the jubilant people simply wouldn't speak of their plight. They all believed that they'd be released from everything. Several of them spoke of the joys of life. Their thanks for living through the 10 hellish years. Their thanks to the upper tier for working tirelessly for this moment. They took Guy's hands and cried as they spoke of it. Amidst that, he was the only one walking. Only Guy wouldn't cry. He only walked, with his tilted vision, amidst the ridiculous jubilance that had enveloped the city. Eerily and his nurse had already disappeared from the lower tier hospital and started packing. It was said they'd gotten a passport for the Allied capital. It was also said that Eerily screamed through his tears. Who cares about someone's rich daughter? He said he'd married the Miradon who valued free love. Many people chose to escape the city, like Eerily. Even mutated humans were still humans. They said they were sure to be accepted. He didn't see Stanislaw anywhere either. It was said he'd negotiated with the upper tier and obtained an official position as a city-approved trader. A tough old dealer, Stanislaw. It was said he'd stay in the town to start a business exporting crack engines. He said with a smile that he'd amassed an enormous fortune. The owner of the opium den, Alyssa. It was said she'd made a sullen face, silently smiling. She said she could finally release the salespeople, girls, in her illegal brothel. It was said that the Twittering twins obtained a passport and headed for a certain family of fishermen on the northern part of the continent, near the clear sea the old man had once spoken of. It is said that 3 children of the engine factory had gotten new foster parents from an affluent tier. 3 people who regularly saw them, and had at some point decided to adopt them. They'd chosen this blessed moment to do just that. The boy who was good at calculation. Mize said he would go to Sekien.
赤学協会の試験を受けようと思うんだ。そうすれば帝国から西京へ行けるだろう。霧が晴れたんだから外国にだって行ける。そうだろギー先生。キーヤとは離れ離れになるけど。でも俺立派になって迎えに来るよ。
Be more of a fucking background character, Mize. You literally did nothing this entire fucking game.
だからそれまでは文通しようと思って。
I'll burn all your letters.
大人になったら迎えに来る。会えるよな。だよな、ギー先生。
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see her again. Guy wasn't sure if he'd said that aloud. Everything occurring within his vision and all the voices he'd heard felt hollow to him. They weren't illusions. Their joy and excitement and tears were real. Only he walked without crying. Like a beast starved to death and wasting away. Was there anyone who needed his hand? He walked and walked and walked, merely wandering around the lower tiers.
Oh, Doctor! この際あんたでも構わんか。なあ。なあドクター、このバカ騒ぎはどうだい？どいつもこいつも浮かれきって、まさにバカか気違いの祭りだよ。都市の安全が確保できたってんならさ、もう俺たちもお役ごめんってやつだろうな。俺は運送屋でも始めようかなと思ってる。層を超えた個人飛行も今や違法じゃない。かなり稼げそうだぜ。なあ。しかしめでたいこともあったもんだぜ。まさかこんな日が来るなんてな。なんだよ、もうからか。おい姉ちゃん、もう一杯だ。
The ruckus filling the engine tavern was somehow gorgeous. Even the waitress bringing the alcohol had a bright expression. She happily handed the runner bird another mug. The bird emptied the metallic mug into one draft, warped his beak around into a smile, and shrugged.
あんたはやらないのか？祝いの杯だぜ。ああ、そうか。あいつがいいね。あんたに声をかけたのはそれだ。あいつとも一杯飲みたくってね。黒猫のやつを知らないか？こんな日にどこにもいないんだよ。
ああ、そうだな。彼女はどこにもいないよ。
なんだよそれ。あ、ドクター。あ、来たと思ったらもう帰っちまうのかよ。
Guy felt the bird's voice behind him as he left the engine tavern. That's right, she's nowhere to be found. A gray sky met him as he left the tavern. Even today, it wouldn't change. The gray covering the city was no different from 10 years ago. Rain was falling. The water had turned muddy and gray from the engine smog it absorbed. It slid down the surface of the waterlogged cloak. Rain poured down his cheek. As if someone had been watching, they might have thought he was crying. However, Guy wasn't crying. His tears had already dried up. He'd cried his last during the incident with Salem. So, was this the end? There was no one in the city who needed his help. He had no joyous emotions in his heart. Was this the end?
だが、僕は立ち止まるわけにはいかない。
There had to be someone somewhere who needed him, even if he never found them. So, he would continue walking and continue healing, no matter how much the city changed. That was everything to him. Even if this place ceased to be hell, even if the city ceased to be a fantasy. Then, his gaze was drawn to a back alley. Something was there. Small silhouettes. They weren't engine spirits. They were humans. 3 familiar children. Those kids. He could tell they were rushing towards him. They were smiling from ear to ear without any sign of gloom. I can see the children. They're saying something and rushing towards me. He had already heard about them. He'd been adopted. New foster parents had released them from the strict engine factory boss. Should he wish them well? With a gentle voice? Guy opened his lips. It had gotten dry without him realizing it. However, his body stopped moving at that point. What should he say? What can I say? Congratulations? Guy was aware that the void within his own heart, it wouldn't let him use a joyous voice. He only breathed. The children stood still. They were gazing towards him with strange eyes. One of them took a step back, as if afraid. He looked at his face, his eyes, his lips. Ah, I see they're afraid. They're afraid of me. I probably am no different from yesterday. That's why they're scared. He closed his mouth. Guy's lips said nothing. He just waved his hand and looked away from the children without a word. There were no words. They'd already been released. All mutations had disappeared from the city. They'd probably evaded their certain deaths. They no longer needed him. He no longer had anything to say to the children. There was no meaning in his dry voice. They had a future. Besides, the children have nothing to say to me. Not anymore. Not for this murderer. Why would any children speak to me? That's right. I'm a murderer. I killed a person. This crazy man named Guy killed someone. Night descended. Guy sat down on his bed. Even if the city really had changed, he decided to travel and heal all throughout the night, and then walked around all day today. He decided to do just that, but that night at 2 a.m., he returned to his apartment. He wasn't even aware of it. There he was, alone in the darkness. His mind was completely blank. He thought about the new changes in the city, and remembered the jubilant faces and voices of the people. He gazed towards the sky, although it was blocked by the curtains, towards the gray, cloth-covered clouds, the eternal sky which covered 2 suns. Today he'd walked under the sky alone. The same thing he had done every day for the past 10 years. He'd walked endlessly under the unchanging gray clouds. Alone. Alone. Yes. All alone. He couldn't think of anything. He just threw his wet cloak into the back of the chair. He sat down and looked at the window, at the signs of night concealed by the curtain. The new changes brought about for the city felt like illusions shimmering in some faraway place. His mind was blank. Kia. He hadn't thought of her. Until a voice rang out, a voice which barely reached him through the door. A reserved but fairly bright voice. It rang out no different from usual. The door wasn't open. The black cat would have always opened the door before speaking to him. However, the girl wouldn't. She spoke to him, modestly.
入ってもいい？
どうぞ。空いているよ。
いい。眠っていたの？
いや、起きていたよ。どうしたの？
キーが帰ってきた音が聞こえたから。それで。でも、寝ているかと思ったの。ノックをしても返事がなくて。
ノック？
うん。
Knock? Ridiculous. I've definitely been awake the whole time. He didn't feel the least bit sleepy. He merely recognized some physical fatigue, just like he'd used before he met Kia. He hadn't gotten a wink of sleep since he'd lost Atty. And yet...
本当にノックをした。
何度も。最後は強めに叩いて。
A troubled, apologetic face, as if she didn't know what to say to him. She's not lying, I can tell just by looking at her. Which means there's something wrong with me. He'd broken the one and only rule he'd given himself. He'd killed a person in the city. One person. No, it might have been more than one. He wasn't sure of anything anymore. 3 lives he's erased with his own hands. No, more than that. If you count the lives I couldn't save with my equation.
人殺しか。そうだな。僕は殺しすぎているのかもしれない。
Could he blame that man, Kirkin? He was no different from him. For him, killing people was as effortless as breathing. His gaze fell on the girl's face. Her pink eyes were watching him closely.
すまない。君を一人にさせたね。
謝らないで。キーは悪いことなんてしてない。おかえりなさい。
A smile aimed straight at me. Somehow its warmth felt like that of the sun. He couldn't look at it directly. Guy averted his eyes. That was why he didn't notice the emotion hidden within her smile. He didn't notice her eyes wavering uneasily, as if imploring him.
そういえば、今日は留守番をしていたね。体調が良くない。もしそうなら言ってくれれば。
Her expression changes. Her smile disappears and she tilts her head.
嘘。ユダキン、何言ってるの？キーはお留守番。キーが今日は一人で行くって言ったから。朝ごはんの時に。
ああ。
That's right. That certainly was what had happened. My memories are beginning to come back. That's why he hadn't canceled the guard contract. Runners were probably still hiding outside the apartment, guarding it with hawk-like eyes. He'd left Kia alone and placed guards outside. He had no recollection of whether she'd wanted to stay or go. It was completely outside of his memory.
そうか。僕はそこまで肩が来てるか。破綻している。僕も何もかもが。
It's time to quit. It was never possible to begin with. I even lost sight of the fact that I'm taking care of this girl. What am I doing? I walked around the lower tiers alone. All I did. I walked around the city, watching all the people leave. I'm the only one who doesn't feel the change.
すまない。今日は迷惑をかけたね。
迷惑なんてない。キーヤは平気よ。
すまない。